Welcome to the Recovery Cast, brought to you by Hills and Rangers Private.
Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Recovery Cast, brought to you by Hills and Rangers. My name's Oliver and I'm an addict. We've got a couple of things to talk about for this episode. First, we're going to talk about what's in the JFT, just for today. So today's reading is October 14, The End of Loneliness. With the love that I am shown in Narcotics Anonymous, I have no excuse for loneliness. Addiction is a lonely disease. We may be surrounded by people, but sooner or later, our addiction drives a wedge between us and even our closest loved ones. Many of us are driven to Narcotics Anonymous by a desperate loneliness. Though we may approach the rooms of NA with caution and suspicion, we are welcomed with a hug, a smile, and a warm "keep coming back." This may be the first place where we have felt welcome in a long, long while. We watch other members talking and laughing, leaving the meeting in groups for more talk at the local coffee shop. We wonder if we too could become a part of this loving bunch. Our pattern of isolation can make it difficult for us to join in. Over time, however, we begin to feel a part of rather than apart from. Soon, when we walk into the rooms we feel at home, we begin to make friends and our lives start to change. NA teaches us how to overcome our isolation. Through our first tentative friendships formed in our home group, we start to find that making friends isn't hard. A sense of belonging comes when we share ourselves with others. Just for today, I am thankful for the friendships my higher power has given me in NA. Because of them, I am lonely no more. Pretty powerful stuff. The end of loneliness. Well, I can just think from my perspective, when I was using, I definitely just wanted to be alone. I just wanted to be alone and be left alone and allowed to do my thing. And I was quite happy like that, The only time I would ever sort of reach out to other people was when, I thought I could get something from them. And, that left a lot of my friendships completely, malnourished. There was no nurturing my old friendships. I was just sort of connecting with people who were really toxic and harmful. And, quite frankly, I think they were all about doing the same thing. They were just wanting to, to get drugs and use drugs. And, that's no way to be for me. I quite quickly found that I needed to do something. And, I found NA through my, my treatment that I went to. In NA, I was able to meet a bunch of people who'd been through the same thing and were focused on getting better and finding a new way to live and just hell-bent on not going back to those old ways, that old way of life. Even, they were all from completely different walks of life. Wealthy people, working class people, poor people, people who'd been through homelessness, people who'd been through courts and jails and institutions, and people who were just at their wits' end. I think we all shared that in common, is that we were willing to do what it took to get something different. And how wonderful, because that connected me with a bunch of people. I've forged friendships in that fellowship that, I would never have made otherwise. It forced me to get a different perspective on my life. I wasn't just hanging around with that same group. there was always different things to do, you know. There was conventions to go to. There was, second halves. It mentions in the reading that going to a coffee shop or going to a restaurant after a meeting and just hanging out and having a giggle, having a laugh, talking rubbish. And, there've been so many connections I've made. I've had musical opportunities through NA. I've played on people's musical releases, played guitar on people's albums, played guitar at the NA convention. What else have I done? I've gotten employment through NA, just when you think you're sort of sick of being in recovery and not working, you want to go back to work, and then this opportunity just plops itself down in your lap. What else have I done? Wow. I don't know, just having people that I can talk to, if I'm having a day where I am lonely, I can ring someone. One of the most amazing things in my recovery that I've done so far is someone I met in the rooms took me scuba diving, snorkeling. And, we went snorkeling, in Port Phillip Bay, and I was swimming in this giant school of salmon and looking at things like stingrays and banjo sharks and just all these fish and creatures under the water. This person that I met in a meeting took me into a completely different world for, an hour. And I'm really grateful to him for that. And that's on the table, and that's free and open to anybody. Even if you don't, connect with people like that, you can just go and see the same faces every week or every day. You can pick and choose, somebody who's got a great recovery, someone who's doing stuff, someone who's got the externals, someone who's got the cool car, someone who's got the nice clothes, or maybe just someone who seems like they've arrived in their life and they're content and quietly happy with themselves and just seem to be having a great time. That stuff's infectious when I hang around people like that. There's always someone that can take you to a second half and pay for your dinner. It's happened to me all the time. People have bought me NA literature, and whenever I see someone who comes in and they're a newcomer, I buy them the basic text or the JFT, and they say, "You serious?" And I say, "Absolutely, I am. Somebody did that for me." It's an inclusive place, and everybody gets a chance to grow. How amazing. Next up in this episode, we're going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about routine and how that can sort of really make things better.
You're listening to the Recovery Cast, brought to you by Hills and Ranges Private. Like what you hear? Then visit us at www.rehab.melbourne for more shows.
Welcome back. So now we're going to talk a little bit about routine. I definitely see that, in rehab or in a detox, in treatment, even in jail, people seem to function quite well. Someone who was literally on their knees, out on the streets or, struggling, comes into a rehab and, they just seem to function better, and they seem to slowly get a little bit happier and feel a little bit more secure. And then, I see it all the time happen that when they leave, they probably don't actually last that long with their recovery and their sobriety or cleanliness or whatever. And they relapse. And, I've heard so many people in meetings and just in general ask themselves why did that happen? And one of the reasons, I think, is because in treatment there is a really, really strong routine. Get up at the same time every day, you do tasks, meal times are at set times, there's always something to do. and bedtime is at the same time. And there's a sense of, just a really, really strong routine. There's always something for you to do. You're not stuck sort of thinking about, what am I going to do next? Or I've got nothing to do. You don't get bored, And even if you do get bored, you don't have a choice. You have to do this routine. You have to attend this session. You have to do this or that, whatever. Definitely for me, that's something that has helped me in my recovery, is that I noticed that when I don't have a routine, that my recovery actually suffers. So let me elaborate on this maybe. When I got out of my treatment, I went to the pool every day and swam some laps. And what else did I do? I had hobbies that I would do every day. I tried to make my life a little bit more regular, and like meal times were at the set time, bedtime. I wasn't going out clubbing no more, that's for sure. And that just became something that was good, good for me. Now, what are some suggestions that you would do for your routine? Grab a pen and paper and think about stuff that you could do, Like, I challenge you to do that right now. Grab a piece of paper and a pen and write down, what could you do maybe 3 times a week? What's something you could do every day? What's something you could do once a week? Just to fill up your time and not leave yourself with, periods of time where you're just sitting and you're stuck in your own head. Because for me, that's the problem, is my thoughts are pretty toxic and they can quickly affect my mood. So how do I fix that? Well, that brings us to part 1 of my routine, meditation. I'm not hiding this. I've got horrendous ADHD. My brain is always off thinking of something, it's just a spiral of thought spirals and intrusive thoughts of, let's go and do this, let's go and do that. A lot of my tasks are unfinished around the house. How do I sort of meditate? Well, it's a good question. I've tried heaps of different kinds of meditation. I've tried a lot of guided meditations, on YouTube. They're free. I've tried joining a yoga studio and doing, meditation sessions there. Quite often I would be lying on a mat and I'd fall asleep, and I'd wake up to the instructor squeezing my big toe, trying to wake me up because I was snoring in the middle of the session. So I found something that worked for me. There's an app called the Waking Up Course by Sam Harris. I'm not affiliated with this app in any way. I'm not promoting them. It's just what worked for me. And the Waking Up Course is like a 28-day sort of introductory meditation course. It's guided by this guy, Sam Harris, who's a bit of a kind of a spiritual, like a spiritual teacher, has his own method. And that's what worked for me, After the 28 days, there's a daily meditation that you can do. And it's only like 10 minutes. And that's really important for me, is that my attention span isn't the biggest. Sitting down and making these episodes is like a world record for me. I can concentrate for 15, 20 minutes, something like that, That's number 1, meditation. Number 2, exercise. It's probably my least favorite one, to be honest. Some people love it. Some people gym. Some people go for runs. Some people swim. I've sort of done all that stuff at various points in my life. But I find that I function best when I go for a walk every day, every single day, even when it's raining. A lot of that will involve, my dog. Luckily in recovery, yes, I've been able to get a dog. The joys of recovery, huh? And whether I'm, if I'm in Melbourne, then, it's down to the local park. Or just through some back streets, just see what the world has to offer. And all that time I'm getting a little bit of cardio, I guess, depending on how quickly I walk. After this coronavirus lockdown's over, I plan on running. Going for a run every day. That is proven to make you feel good. Endorphins. And if you do that, even if you go for a run 3 times a week, something like that, it's just a bit of routine. That brings me to number 3, food. Definitely something that I see a lot of people in recovery struggling with is, you put the drugs down and other things pop up. And for me, hello chocolate, big problem. So I think part of my routine now is to go to the supermarket or go to the market and get some fresh fruit and veg. And I'm left with this box of fruit and veg, and, it gets to the point where I have to cook something, otherwise it all just goes off. So I end up cooking some pretty nourishing meals for myself. Stir fries and soups and burritos. That's a real favorite. And if I do that, I end up spending an hour or something, preparing and cleaning up, and then I get to enjoy the food. And that's nourishing. It's good for the mind. It's good for the body. And then, bedtime. Well, you don't have to set the same bedtime, but I think it does help. And I'd sort of find that I get into bed at about, 10 p.m. every night. And, that means that I'm not tired the next day and I wake up at the same time. So that's sort of, it's been a good episode. I think having a routine and sticking to it and finding what works for you. There's no set way to do things. You've got to find out. It's your recovery. It's your life. And find your own routine. And, it might change over time, but as long as you have something that you can do, it's amazing. It's going to make your recovery, something that's like truly blessed and wonderful, something that you continue and keep doing. So yeah, thanks for listening again. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Recovery Cast. For more, visit us at www.rehab.melbourne.